Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here with YoVideogames, and I'm here to give a sort of post-mortem, I guess, if you will, on the Game Awards 2025, since it's going to be, the talk of the town, as it were, for now. And, just getting it right off the bat here. The Game Awards, it was run well. Again, to recall back to when this thing used to be the Spike TV Game Awards, and the cringe factory that it was back then. And we've come a very long way where now the only sort of, I guess, performance stuff besides obviously Evanescence and other bands that plays the Muppets, and the Muppets are always honestly the best part of the show usually, as far as like show portion of the show goes, and this was almost no different. Rolf was a delight, as he tends to be. It wasn't quite Statler and Waldorf from last year, but hey, it was still very much appreciated. It was still funny. It was still very good. And yes, I am starting with the Muppets here. Bite me. As far as the rest of the show, we'll just talk about the other elephant in the room, which is Expedition 33 wins everything, nearly sweeps except for audio design, which went to Battlefield 6. Again, deserved. This isn't like things got snubbed, the better game lost, blah. Not really. I don't think that's true. Expedition 33 winning on all the categories it did was frankly deserved. That's not a problem at all, honestly. It's good. The thing, the cynic in me is less about Expedition 33 winning everything that it deserved to win, and more about how this industry will learn nothing from this. They will learn all the wrong lessons. They will learn that we could massively gut our game studios, and they could they could make big selling games that win all these prestigious awards, and we don't need very many of them to do it, and we could do it even cheaper. We could pay people less than we do already because someone did it for. And okay, all the wrong lessons. Project management. Vision, creativity, no meddling, oversight. These are all the lessons they should learn from Expedition 33. It's all the lessons they won't learn from Expedition 33. But yeah, it's great that hey, we a turn-based RPG won Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and that's great. I do feel a little bit of the resentment from some people that it's like it needed to be you needed to have a bunch of celebrities and hyper realistic Unreal Engine 5 character models for people to stand up and take notice of how fun this genre is. It's a little sour grapes because Persona 5 did get a lot of notice, and I think it won soundtrack, even though if there's anything I have any real grievances with the show and the show format right now, it's that they've done this twice now where they have a game that's nominated for best soundtrack, and early in the show that one game gets to come out and play music specifically for its own little onstage musical segment for that one game, and then it easily handedly goes on to win soundtrack of the year later. And the other four nominated soundtrack games can go pound sand. And of course, we're talking about like when God of War Ragnarok, we got to play our sad dad bummer alt rock song on stage. Then it wins soundtrack of the year undeservedly. And then this year, Expedition 33, they early on in the show they get to do this big on stage musical demonstration of the game, and deservedly wins soundtrack of the year later. But it's almost kind of like, why do you even have this category, Jeff? It seems like you've already you and your judges. Obviously before the show, but it's like, if you're going to do this so much, it's kind of like, why even have the category? Just come out and say, this was the best soundtrack. We don't even need to vote because we've already decided. We already booked the appointments and everything. It's almost like, it almost feels like they're kind of rubbing salt in the wounds of any other game nominated for soundtrack, because it's like, look, yeah, it's nice you guys got nominated, but this game, we haven't said is one yet, they get to come on stage and perform. We got to make sure everyone wants to hear them. The audience wants to hear the game that's gonna win. They don't want to hear you. They just want to hear the game that's already won before we've said it's won. So I have issues with that. I like on obviously I'm a huge proponent of orchestrated music, live music, live stage stuff. Like I love being, I love game concerts. I go to many game concerts. But this feels a little, I don't know. There's something that does not sit right with me with the fact that they only play one on-stage performance from one game nominated, and it's the game that's going to win, obviously. And to me, it's like, if you're going to give that sort of prestige, if you're going to do an on-stage full song demonstration, from a game, you should give it to every game nominated for soundtrack of the year. Every single game up there should get one. And I know Evanescence has a gaming tie-in. It's they're getting better about this. Imagine Dragons before them, and now them, where it's like, okay, there's actually a tie-in to some video game. It's not just Jeff going like, flexing his Hollywood muscle. So that is true. But on the other hand, as I sit here with this One Republic song going, on the other hand, I kind of feel like, look, man, like, collab with very well-known, well-to-do musical bands, that's nice. But this is the Game Awards, and I feel like we should be focusing more on the people whose whole career is focused around writing game music, and like this is what they do. Okay, like this is not like, oh cool, we have this big money hat collab, to put our famous band in this game, or this famous band in that game, but rather let's get the composers whose whole soul career is based on this. Let's get them doing that. So yeah, that's sort of like one thing there. I mean, imagine, if you will, if with God, the name escaping me. Imagine, if you will, if Grant came out there with with the Badger game, and was performing live from the game, like music from the game, like for the first time that it's ever being heard, and maybe it would do like a crazy cool thing where he's playing in tune with the game, with Bradley the Badger. Like, imagine, I'm just kind of trying to set the idea here, but imagine that. But anyways, let's break down the other stuff you probably want to hear about. Let's talk about like the announcements. I thought the show got off to a nice start with the Free Shepherd. I thought that's definitely a game I would check out. As as we said, on our stream, like, it kind of almost looks like Flower with a dog, and yeah, I'm into that. Reminds me of that other game where you play as a fox. I think there were two of them. Spirit of the North. Pragmata got a Switch 2 announcement, and it's going to be released at the end of April, like half the games in this show. So that's nice. It's actually pretty cool to see Capcom commit a lot harder to the Switch 2 than they did to the Switch 1, which they had this huge success with Monster Hunter Rise, but it was just like a bunch of late ports or whatever they could get around to. Otherwise, on the Switch 1, they seemed very hands-off with it, which was really weird considering how successful the Switch 1 became. But the Switch 2 being a much more powerful system, and graphics kind of hitting a sort of hard plateau. With the RE, they already said, hey, RE Engine runs great on the thing. We don't have any issues with it. I think we're going to see a lot more support from Capcom on Switch 2, and we're already seeing that happen. And then Bradley the Badger, I just mentioned that. I'm actually very excited for that game. Dave Solani from Mario Rabbids is directing it. I heard two notes of music, and I immediately knew it was Grant Kirkhope. And yes, Grant Kirkhope's doing the music for it. So that was no surprise. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. So yeah, those were good. Fate of the Old Republic, which I assume is not, it's not KOTOR remake or KOTOR 2 remake. I actually assume Fate of the Old Republic is a straight up follow-up to Knights of the Old Republic. Like, it's basically KOTOR 3. That's gonna be huge news for a lot of people. On screen, and I'm just jump ahead, and yeah, Phantom Blade Zero. Apparently, this is the most watched or rewatched, replayed trailer of the Game Awards, and deservedly so. Now, this is a game I am very excited for, but there's a funny history with this game. Is that I played it a year and a half ago at Summer Games Fest, and this was the first of two times, because we just talked about Pragmata being the second, where I saw if I had a nickel for every time a game had a fancy CG trailer, disappeared for a long time, and then showed up at Summer Games Fest and turned out to be playable and one of the best games of the show, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. And Phantom Blade Zero was definitely that game where we saw this CG trailer and it looked cool, but it also was CG, trailer or very stylized trailer. I'm like, oh, that can't be. Then I played the game a year and a half ago at Summer Games Fest, and oh my god, this game's amazing. So yeah, we saw Drunken Master mode. We saw some other stuff with it. We saw a lot of hook swords. Oh, gosh, I am so excited for this game. It played so well, and it looks like it's actually come a very long way. From when I played it with just sort of like resolution, image quality stuff. YouTube compression is killing it right now. But on the stream, the 4K stream we were watching, I was like, okay, this looks even better than it did before. So very, very excited about this game. It's got a September release now. That's great because then it gives all these February and March, April games some room to breathe for at least for us. But I'm very excited for this game. I'm glad it's taking the time it needs. It plays so well. And again, I talked to the director and producer of the game personally for a long time. They're really cool people. They basically are like, hey man, we got sick of waiting for a new Metal Gear Rising and a new Ninja Gaiden. Like, we really love those games, but we didn't see them making anyone. So we're like, they Thanos glove, put on the glove and said, fine, I'll do it myself. And here we are. And it's turning out really well. I'm very happy. To see the reception being really positive for the game because it plays as well as it looks, and that's really important because you often don't get that. You don't usually get games playing as well as they look. But yeah, as far as like other awards go, or I'm sorry, other announcements go, I personally kind of dug all the ex-Naughty Dog people making Coven of the Chicken Foot. I thought, hey, this Ghibli-ass Ghibli game with an old chicken lady and her what's-it companion. I thought it looked really charming. I actually thought it looked really good. I'm into it. Also, big shout-outs for the judges for at least giving South of Midnight a Games for Impact game. A game deserved it. That was a great game. There is a lot of weird, disturbing games here to sort of like the theme of the night was like gross you out. There was, we had the Divinity trailer, which is big news for a lot of people. I'm not going to say that isn't like, and that's no small announcement. That was a big announcement. It was an expensive announcement considering, that trailer. But yeah, I mean, it's a trailer with, people like burning dudes at the stake, Wicker Man style, people like, vomiting on pigs and the pigs eating it, and then people fucking in the middle of all of this stuff. So it's just kind of like hyper gross out medieval, like the Ren Fair from Hell trailer. I'm sure the game will be very good. It's Larian's next big project, and it's even bigger than Baldur's Gate 3. It's going to be big news. But they definitely wanted to go out and try to it was like almost like they're on this weird sort of like, we're going to sicken you with our trailer. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, at least, you know what though? If anything, it felt like they were talking, it was almost like an effigy of working with Hasbro, where it was like, we are releasing ourselves from the shackles. We are burning this collab at the stake. We're going our own way. We're gonna make a game that's like just hyper violent, hyper gruesome, hyper disgusting. If we want to have people fucking in the middle of a crowd in our game, we're gonna have people fucking in the middle of a crowd in our game. It almost feels like anything they told us we couldn't do in Baldur's Gate 3, which doesn't seem to be a lot, but anything we couldn't do, we're gonna do it here. So there we go. Obviously, Resident Evil Requiem, that's one of the most exciting trailers. Yes, I finally have a reason to be more excited for Requiem because I felt a little bit like Grace is nice, but it kind of feels like we were kind of treading very familiar ground with RE9 leading up to last night, and bringing Leon in was the right call. And then it was kind of nice to learn that, yeah, it's going to be a dual protagonist, dual campaign game. Not dual campaign as in, scenario A, scenario B, but like more like Resident Evil Revelations, they said, where it's you just kind of naturally switch from one to the other. No surprise there. But yeah, they're like, Grace is RE2, Leon's RE4. And yeah, we saw things where Leon is going to pick up melee weapons. He's going to, take the damn chainsaw from the opponents and just put it in them, and loved that. And yeah, I'm just I finally have a good reason to be excited. And I am excited. I always was excited, but I was always kind of like, yeah, that's more Resident Evil. But now it's like, okay, it's the two sides of the Resident Evil coin, and it's looking really good. And I'm very very happy to see that comes out really soon. I don't know what I'm gonna get it on. It is on the Switch 2. I don't imagine the Switch 2 will be the optimal way to play that game. Might as well just use my beefy PC. A big game that I don't see talked about a lot and is Gang of Dragon, which it just feels so weird how Nagoshi basically just, launched a cannonball right at his old employer at Sega, where it's just like, I'm going to go make a Yakuza game with probably more budget, but it's going to be the same kind of game. And I'm not even going to be shy about this. It's going to be set in Kabukicho in Japan, which is the real world setting of Kamurocho. And it's just kind of like, I'm going to make the same game, but I'm going to make it with more money. And I'm not going to have anyone telling me anything I can or can't do. So, okay. Am I excited? Yeah, kind of. I mean, how could I not be a little bit curious with such a weird shot across the bow? But it does make it seem like, did he leave on like some really bad terms or something? What's like why so much of a direct shot at Sega? Weird. Anyways, even called it Gang of Dragon, and so, like, which is basically, one word removed from Like a Dragon. Getting weird Inafune vibes here with Mighty Number 9, but I pretty sure it won't end up like that game. The Street Fighter movie world premiere trailer, it looks goofy as hell, which is probably for the best because Street Fighter's a cheesy, hokey storyline. I don't mean that in a derogative way. I just mean in like it's an all over the place kind of thing. It's good that we're getting a game that seems to embrace the silly side of it, because there's a lot of silliness to Street Fighter with all the cool martial arts, and kind of nice to see. The cast is weird. I'm not gonna lie about that. The cast is bizarre to me, but maybe it'll be fun. If they're having fun, maybe the movie will be fun. That translates well usually. And the other big Capcom surprise of the night, of course, was the reveal of Mega Man 12, not Mega Man 12. But basically Mega Man 12, which was okay. This is like the big announcements for all us like aging boomer gamers, is that Mega Man's not dead. He's back, actually. What a great surprise. And it was, again, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one at that. I had almost written this off, especially when like the producer for the series had kind of bailed from Capcom, and here we are years later. Nope, Mega Man's back. He's alive. We're gonna make a game. It's gonna look an awful lot like the last one, Mega Man 11, but that's fine. If anything, the only thing that kind of confuses me with anything and everything Mega Man related here was like, why did Capcom wait so long? Like, obviously they're not putting, $100 million into this Mega Man project. It's just another cool Mega Man game on the scope of probably Mega Man 11, maybe a little bigger. But like, and it's not coming out for until 2027 either. So it's just this weird thing where it's like, why did you wait 9 years to bring Mega Man back? Well, it's just a very confusing thing for me on Capcom's part, where it's like, Mega Man 11 sold well. It sold better than most individual Mega Man games ever have. Like, why did you wait 9 years to do another one? I don't know. I don't want to make you feel like I'm not ungrateful for the game existing, but and I'm not even a Mega Man fan per se, but as someone who's obviously around a lot of Mega Man fans, I'm just gonna be out there with you guys and just be like, hey man, I'm with you. Like, why did Capcom wait so dang long, to do a new Mega Man game? That just seems so bizarre to me, that they had something people liked, sold well. Like, should we do another one? Nah. Oh, okay. But skimming, just going through it, Tomb Raider getting a remake again, another remake of Part 1 to come out before their big new sequel game. That's pretty cool. Never been a big Tomb Raider person, but hey, maybe this is a good jumping in point. Obviously, they're expecting that. Lego Batman again looks cool and fun, good combat. Invincible Versus is getting got a new character announcement, which that's pretty dope. Kind of happy to see that. I guess it's an original character. Again, Kepler paid for a lot of announcements here too, after all the money they got from Expedition 33. So, but I think the standout game for everybody that I've seen was Orbitals, the 80s anime split fiction looking game. That's pretty cool. I mean, will I be there? We'll be checking out. Yeah, of course. Deadpool getting announced in Rivals. Yay. but yeah, like just kind of like as far as like other big announcements go, it was nice to see Ace Combat 8. I kind of was I'll be real, I was a little intrigued by No Law. I thought that looked kind of fun, especially if it's a game that does let me kind of rip through like a cyberpunk setting. Star Wars Galactic Racer, big fun there. Out of Words looked good too. Although I swear I've seen it somewhere before, but I don't know. I feel like my memory might be fading me there. But anyways, yeah. As far as like overall, like what was the show for me in the end? Was it the best TG? Not particularly for announcements. There were a couple good surprises, nothing like mind blowing. It wasn't like, oh, Sega's reviving a bunch of its old franchises level. I mean, the Capcom with Mega Man is kind of close to it, but that's one game franchise versus like 5 that Sega did. And again, there was no Final Fantasy 7-3 moment, no Square Enix at all. With word coming out of how much it costs to put a trailer in the Game Awards, I kind of am not surprised Square's not paying for it. um, but anyways, yeah, like it was a well run show, and Expedition, even though Expedition mostly swept, like it deserved it. So it doesn't feel like, oh, we got like just some weird. Oh, I mean there was judge bias for sure, but like it also felt like, well, come on, this was the obvious winner. Like, well, come on, we all knew it was Expedition 33 the moment we finished that game, right? So I don't know. This year where I just felt like it felt like there's no confusion as to what's going to win, and there's no, I don't know. There's no sort of like, this doesn't deserve it. I'm like, no, it did. And yeah, like, but again, it wasn't huge on surprises. I do think we are seeing a little bit of the game industry kind of maybe having this moment where either the Game Awards are getting too expensive for companies to feel it's worth putting product in there, or more scary, we might be coming into the moment where all these layoffs, all these thousands and thousands and thousands of layoffs is finally kind of like coming home to roost, where like, oh, we don't have a bunch of huge, cool, crazy, big game announcements because we laid off so many people, and we don't have big, huge games in development anymore. And that's a little like, I mean, that's a little hyperbolic, but it does kind of feel like a little bit that there's looking at some of these games and it's like, man, like this is looking like we're starting to feel the effects a little bit of like big major games, because Sony's been super quiet. Microsoft, the only thing they announced is the next big project they canceled. And Nintendo's been quiet too, but Nintendo's being Nintendo. Like, we don't really have to worry about them. But yeah, like the people who showed up big were Capcom and Kepler, and they had plenty to show, plenty to announce. And obviously Larian with their big Divinity and Control. The new Control game, which this is all really weird here too, because yeah, the show ended with Highguard, a new PvP raid shooter from Respawn devs, and there's a conspiracy theory going around that maybe Valve was supposed to have like the final game and they bailed last minute or something, or someone else maybe. And I don't know. It seems like a rumor that just feels true, maybe more than it is. I will say, like, as the big final game, it was kind of a bit of a rat fart. It's not the first time this has happened. I remember, I believe that one of the Game Awards, like the final game they showed was a Fast and Furious game that got delisted pretty quickly. There's been games. There was some other shooter game I remember. I don't even remember the name of it now. It escapes me. Paragon, I think. I think there was one year like Paragon was the last game. Does anyone remember Paragon? I don't. So yeah, sometimes the big last announcement is just kind of I guess. Free to play PvP raid shooter by Respawn people. Good fucking luck. It's not based on any IP or anything. it doesn't cost you anything, but time is money. So yeah, we only have so much free time available to us at any given point. So, um, but yeah, I guess I don't know. I think we kind of need to not be having too much high expectations for a big final game. I mean, look, that's a little on Jeff's part where it's like, okay, you got to you're making the show. What is your big final announcement? You know, people are expecting something significant for your final game announcement. So it's kind of on him to sort of make the decision on whether or not, that final game is or isn't, you know, worth it, or big enough. And I think that's just where the rumors come from, where it's kind of like, was Jeff convinced this was like the big game you need to end on was High Guard? And I mean, it sounds like I'm shitting on High Guard's devs, and a little bit, where I'm just kind of like, I mean, okay, make the game you want to make, and if this is the game these devs wanted to make, great. But it's hard to believe in this day and age, in this industry, that the game a group of developers want to make is a live service PvP raid shooter. Like, that's the game you absolutely wanted to make. You wanted to break away from working with Activision, and then break away from working with EA. You wanted to get away from the big major publisher system to make a live service PvP raid shooter. I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine that's the case there. It's just hard for me to imagine that being the thing. So, but hey, it could be. This could be like the people at Respawn could be like, oh no, I love PvP raid shooters. I want to make a raid shooter, and that's where we made High Guard. Oh, and you know what? If they want to do, God bless them. Hope it does well. But as far as my own interest in something like that, yeah, not there. But yeah, like I said, overall, the show is about a 6 for me. Ran well. Didn't have any like weird cringe, any weird cringe like comedy skit routines or whatever. Again, only thing like sort of skit routine was like Miss Piggy Rolf, which was actually a delight. And again, I would give more time in Prestige. There is one thing though, and we're kind of seeing it here on the video here, is there's always a bunch of like, we got this big celebrity to come out, we got David Harbour to come out, we got the cast of Street Fighter to come out. And there is more effort to be tying this in. David Harbour, I'm a big Total War fan, so I'm going to announce a Total War game. And we got Trackstar to come out, both of them to come out, to give the first award or whatever. So I like that they're trying to like tie it in, but I feel like time could be better used with less, look who's presenting this award, and more, here's the performance from this game nominated for Soundtrack of the Year. Let's give more musical performances, to all the other nominated games for Best Soundtrack. That's my personal beef. I'm kind of a game music guy, and that's gonna be where my focus kind of always naturally tends to shift towards. So, yeah, that's my only sort of, I guess, feedback for the show itself. As far as the announcements, you get what you get. They charge what they charge, they get what they get. It's up to the companies. If there's a lot of eyeballs watching this show, so it's up to the companies if they want to pony up the dough or don't want to pony up the dough to announce something big there. I'm not going to hold that accountable to TGA. Like, why didn't you get Final Fantasy 7-3 there? And like, because Square didn't want to pay for it, want to announce Final Fantasy 7-3 there. You can't like force a game company to announce a game at your show, no matter how much you might want it. So, is what it is there. So yeah, I again, run well, but as far as like announcements go, it's okay. Some decent surprises, and yeah, like we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next year. We'll see what happens at the Games Fest. Like, it's turning into a well-oiled machine at this point, and it's a well-run machine. And I'm in no way can anyone really knock the logistics of this thing. It's doing well, but I mean, less weird Batman talking, less weird Mephisto talking, more game music performances. That's my feedback. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the channel later, dudes.